So, I'm here today with Derrick Bergman, spokesperson of VOC Nederland, long-time cannabis activist and journalist, to talk about 4 recent Dutch cannabis policy changes. The first one we're going to talk about is the 15% THC rule, which is going to have major complications.
If it will pass, it can definitely have major implications for the whole policy, for the whole coffee shop system, also for growers. So the idea is that any cannabis, including hash, that has more than 15% THC will be moved to list 1 of our Schedule 1 of our opium law, in the same category as heroin, cocaine, all these chemical drugs. So this is very complicated. It's really not doable for the coffee shop industry because, as we all know, any production, any growing of cannabis is still totally forbidden in the Dutch system. So now they're going to have demands on a product that is illegal to grow. So this is impossible to do. And of course it will mean that a lot of varieties of cannabis that you now see in the coffee shops, including pretty much all of the hash varieties that you can buy at coffee shops, will be illegal. And will of course not disappear, but move into the illegal circuit. Just the street dealers that we got rid of by having the coffee shops in the first place. So it's interesting that the most recent news is that about 10 days ago there was quite a big hearing in Parliament about this measure with a lot of experts. 19 experts were there, including one of the representatives of our organization, VOC. And out of the 19 experts, 18 criticized this measure heavily. It's not necessary, it makes no sense really to only single out THC and have it at 15% and not at 10 or 17 or whatever. So this is interesting. There could be some movement now that some parties kind of reconsider their support for this new law, and then it could be off the table. But it's progressed quite far already, so it's really a big threat that they'll impose this new law anyway. So we'll have to see how that goes.
And then the next one is the problems with grow shops, because in the Netherlands cultivation below 5 plants is tolerated. Mm-hmm. However, supplying to the coffee shops is illegal. So this will always give a lot of problems, but now it's a grow shop rule.
Yeah, well, if you go back in history to how this grow shop law, as we call it, the real name is a lot longer and more technical. It started already 7 years ago out of the idea to have a system where there'd be a permit. There had to be a legal permit for the grow shops. This was the original idea. Then they switched to no, we just want to ban all the grow shops anyway, because they might be selling to coffee shops or doing other illegal stuff. So they want to make this law to ban the grow shop. But of course, if you make a simple law like this, banning grow shops, people can just change the name of their store and call it a garden shop instead of grow shop, and then the law doesn't work anymore. So to solve this, they made this very broad law text, which is now the grow shop law, that is banning all kinds of behaviors and all kinds of sales of different stuff, based on the premises that if you have any reason to suspect that the client that you are selling this product to, whether it's just some garden appliance, if you have this idea that you can use it to grow cannabis, then you are punishable as well. That will be illegal. So this doesn't concern only grow shops anymore, but basically anyone who sells anything that can be used for growing cannabis. So it's now our second chamber has already okayed this new law. It's now going to the Senate in November. So what we are hoping and lobbying for is that at least the senators can see that this law is one big joke, because it criminalizes so many different people. It's total war on drugs strategy, repressive kind of measure here, whereas we are now moving into the direction of regulation. So there's some hope that there'll be some common sense in the Dutch Senate, and that they can stop this new grow shop law.
And this hope is mostly based on a recent development.
True, there's been really a landmark verdict in the court of the northern city of Groningen, where two cannabis growers, they were really released without getting any sentence. So the judge made this verdict stating that these people, they did everything right, you could say, while growing cannabis to supply the coffee shops. So they paid taxes, they were transparent, they were open to the police about what they were doing. They weren't using any chemicals, they weren't stealing any electricity. They did everything as safe as they could. And the judge says, well, this is an integral part of the policy of having a coffee shop is, of course, that someone is producing the products that are sold at the coffee shop. But never before in Dutch law history has a judge come to this decision and also drew the conclusion that these people deserve no punishment at all. So they were, technically they weren't acquitted, so they were found guilty of growing cannabis, but the judge didn't give them any punishment for it. And if this verdict, of course, it will go up higher in the system, but if it will stay, the verdict will stay until the highest judge, this is the end, basically, of cannabis prohibition in Holland. Then the politicians have to face that they are going to need to make some kind of a regulation system for growing, because the growers are not getting any punishment anymore.
Okay, and then there's this fourth law that's already passed on having THC in your blood. That's one of the things.
Yeah, this is a law that is broadly stated as well. It's about alcohol and drugs in traffic. They want to, of course, curb this. They want to try to get it down. But they made this very strict new rule about the combination of alcohol and any other drug, including cannabis. So this breaks down to if you've had one joint and one glass of beer and you are behind the wheel and you're tested by the police, then you will lose your driving license after one incident, I think. So this is pretty awful, especially because we know the police will detect this by using like a spit test. You will spit in this test and then they have an idea of whether you use drugs or alcohol or not, and then you move on to the blood test. And in the blood test we know that THC can be detected 3 to 4 weeks after you actually use cannabis. So after 2 weeks after you smoke the joint, it can still cost you your license if you are tested by the police. So here there's no way to stop this law because it has gone through both chambers of parliament. The law will be implemented. And then it's a question of how strictly will they enforce this new law. Because of course if police in the practical terms doesn't really test for it a lot, then there won't be any problem. But as with any law, once the law is in place, the police can use it anytime that they like. And then it's a big threat. And it'll be interesting to see how this will hold up in court, because I can't imagine that a judge who understands that someone has taken cannabis 2 to 3 weeks before being tested, it's really totally unfair to take away his license, because he was not under the influence of cannabis at the moment of being tested. But this all remains to be seen.
And so, the Amsterdam, as we know it, might be in trouble, and what can people do to help out, or where do they go to?
Well, one thing that anybody can do is go to our website, our VOC website. There's a department there where you can support or become active for VOC. It's not only about financial donations, it's also about really activism and trying to save our cannabis culture. Another thing that's really a lot of fun to do as well is come down to Amsterdam for our annual festival, Cannabis Liberation Day. In 2015 we'll celebrate the 7th edition on the 14th of June. It's a Sunday, 2015, in Amsterdam. And it'll be the biggest one yet, I think. We'll have, like always, great artists. We have a big hemp market with hemp food. We have free vaporizing. We have international speakers. It's a lot of fun to go down to. So really, to anyone, if you ever considered going to Amsterdam in the summertime, June is great. It's always real nice weather in June. Come down in this weekend, the weekend the 14th of June, and join us for Cannabis Liberation Day.
Okay. thanks so much for this interview and all this information.
No problem.